Everyone thinks they outgrow fairy tales until they realize life is crueler than stories ever dared to be. Once, I adored them. I read every tale about enchanted forests, cursed lovers, hidden kingdoms, and reluctant beasts who turned out to be princes. I devoured them, believed them, lived them in my daydreams. I used to think the world would be kinder if only magic were real. It's funny how stories make promises reality can't keep. My name is Eira, and I was born into the Dustmore pack as a wolf without a howl. At least, that's what they called me, shifterborn but unshifted. No wolf. No bond. No voice inside my head whispering instinct or strength. The others grew into warriors, hunters, future alphas. I scrubbed floors and made tea. No one said it outright, but everyone knew what I was: useless. Except for my little brother, Ash, who still believed I would find my wolf someday. Every night, he asked me to read from the battered old book of fables our mother left behind before the rogues killed her and father. Ash liked the stories where good conquered evil, where the lost were found, and where the girl always ended up loved. But I'd stopped believing in that long ago. Still, when the moon shone silver and Ash fell asleep clutching my arm, I whispered them anyway, like incantations I hoped would weave magic into our world. Then one night, my 18th birthday, the magic I'd stopped believing in came knocking. The Festival of Stars had just begun. Paper lanterns floated over the trees, soft music danced through the village, and shifters filled the square with laughter. I stood at the edge, as usual, silent and invisible. Until he appeared. The air changed. Crisp. Sharp. Electric. The fire pits dimmed, conversations faltered, and every eye turned toward the stranger stepping out of the shadows. He looked like he didn't belong in this world. Like he'd wandered out of a forgotten myth. He was tall, broad-shouldered, draped in a long black coat with silver thread curling up the sleeves. His hair, black as midnight, fell in loose waves around a face too perfect to be real, cut sharp like a statue, his skin unnaturally pale. But it was his eyes that held us hostage, deep crimson, glowing like embers, both ancient and alive. The crowd parted as he walked through it like smoke through fog. Shifters who could tear trees from roots backed away. Even our alpha, my guardian since my parents' deaths, lowered his gaze. Then the stranger looked at me. Right at me. The world stopped. His stare pinned me in place, cold fire spreading down my spine. My heart beat once. Twice. Slower. Louder. And then he smiled. God's help me, he smiled. I'd been invisible all my life. But the moment he looked at me, I felt seen. Not as the wolfless orphan tucked behind shadows, but as something more. And that terrified me. He didn't blink. Didn't glance away. His eyes, those burning crimson eyes, stayed locked on mine until the space between us might as well have ceased to exist. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Then he started walking toward me. Every footstep echoed louder than the festival drums. I wanted to step back, to vanish into the crowd. But my legs refused to obey. My blood whispered to stay. Something old, older than reason, rose inside me. When he stopped a mere breath away, his voice slid across my skin like velvet and thunder. You shouldn't be here. I swallowed. Excuse me. His eyes narrowed slightly, like he'd heard something beneath my words. Or inside them. This place, it's wrong for you. You don't belong in this dust and weakness. The words should have stung. Instead, they stirred something wild in my chest. Then where do I belong? He tilted his head. Somewhere the stars still sing. I blinked. Before I could speak, my guardian, Alpha Garran, stepped between us, towering and growling low. You. His voice was a growl of ice. I thought you were a myth. The stranger offered a slow, mocking bow. And yet, here I am. You're not welcome here, hybrid. That word made the air go cold. Every villager fell silent. A hybrid. Impossible. Rumors told of one creature born of both curse and bloodline, a child of vampire and werewolf, a union outlawed by both species. A creature said to thirst under moonlight and shift beneath crimson skies. A creature the elders feared more than death. And that creature was standing inches from me. The stranger, Damien, I would learn later, smiled again, but this time it was all teeth. Don't worry, Alpha. I've no quarrel with your pack unless you give me one. Garen's posture shifted, his voice tight. Then why come here? Damien's gaze flicked back to me. I came for her. My breath caught. Behind me, someone gasped. A shifter girl whispered the prophecy. But Garen's voice drowned her out. You came for a cursed girl with no wolf? Something in Damien's expression changed. Not amusement. Not pity. Recognition. She has no wolf yet. He said it like a fact, not a hope. But the crimson moon rises soon. And when it does, she'll remember everything. What the hell does that mean? I managed, my voice shaky. Damien stepped closer, his tone gentler. It means your story is not over, Eira. It's just beginning. The crowd buzzed like hornets, the word prophecy echoing in frightened murmurs. I didn't understand. What prophecy? What did I have to do with a hybrid born of monsters? Alpha Garen growled, low and dangerous. You'll leave now, creature. Whatever game you're playing ends here. Damien raised a brow. You're willing to defy fate for the illusion of control? I'll do whatever it takes to protect my pack. And I, Damien said, eyes glowing brighter, will do whatever it takes to awaken her. Awaken me? I whispered, voice barely audible. He looked at me then, really looked. And something passed between us. Not magic. Not lust. Something deeper. Ancient. I see it in you, he said softly. The blood. The hunger. The memory buried so deep it aches. You felt it in dreams. In the pull of the moon. In the way your skin burns when they look through you. I wanted to deny it. But I couldn't. Because he was right. For weeks leading to the festival, I'd been haunted by dreams, blood on snow, a voice calling my name in the dark, and a wolf with coal-gray fur and eyes like fire. I'd wake with scratches on my arms, my breath fogging the mirror. I told no one. Because wolfless girls don't dream of shifting. And yet, Damien turned to the crowd. You fear me because I was born of both bloodlines. But he gestured to me, was forged in between them. The first of her kind. No, Garen snapped. She is nothing. Just a girl. Damien's voice dropped, reverent and certain. She is the harbinger. The fated Alpha. And you've caged her in this village like a ghost. The crowd gasped. My knees went weak. Fated Alpha? Garen lunged at Damien, but he never reached him. In a blink, Damien blurred forward, his hand outstretched. A wave of invisible force blasted the Alpha back into a fruit stall. Shifters howled. Warriors stepped forward. Chaos erupted. And in the center of it, Damien turned to me again. Not smiling now. If you stay here, they will kill you when the moon turns crimson. What do you want from me? I demanded, breath shallow. He stepped closer, his voice low. I want to help you remember. Before it's too late. Remember what? He raised a gloved hand and brushed a lock of hair from my cheek, so gently it made my heart stutter. The truth, he whispered, about who you are. And what you were born to destroy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat by the window of my small attic room, staring out at the black forest. My hands trembled. My pulse hadn't settled since Damien touched me. They'd confined him to the old hunter's lodge at the edge of the village. Warriors stood guard outside, though none dared enter. Garan called it a precaution. I knew it was fear. I should have been afraid too. But I wasn't. I was drawn. Even now, the memory of his voice echoed in my chest. His words, "You were forged in between," clung to my ribs like ivy. Could he be right? I'd never fit here. Not just because I had no wolf, but because sometimes I sensed things before they happened. I'd known when the frost would come early, when the storm last summer would hit harder than predicted. I heard things others didn't, heartbeats beneath earth, whispers in the trees. Everyone said I was strange. I told myself they were right. But what if it wasn't strangeness? What if it was power? My mother had secrets. I remembered only pieces, her humming to the moonlight, the way her eyes glowed silver when she was angry. Not the usual gold of our kind. Father used to whisper that she was touched by something old. And then they died. Slaughtered by rogues. At least, that's what Garan told us. Now I wasn't so sure. As the moon rose higher, I felt something in my blood, hot, restless, wrong. My skin itched, like it wanted to tear open and let something else out. Something ancient. Something hungry. I clutched my pendant, a shard of obsidian on a thin chain. My mother's. It pulsed with heat. Then I heard it. A voice soft, familiar, low like smoke, right in my mind. "Come to me, Eira." I stood, heart thundering. "Come. Before they break you." I slipped out silently, moving past the guards like mist. As if they couldn't see me at all. When I reached the lodge, the guards were gone. No sign of struggle. No scent of blood. Just vanished. And inside, waiting in the dark, was Damien. He stood by the fire, arms crossed, cloak hanging from one shoulder. His crimson eyes flicked up as I entered. "You came." I nodded, my voice gone. "I didn't call you," he said, stepping closer. "You heard me because the bond is waking." "What bond?" He touched the obsidian at my throat. It blazed with heat where his fingers grazed it. "The one your mother gave her life to seal. The one your father died to protect. The bond between blood and moonlight." I stared at him. "You mean?" "Yes," he whispered. "You're not just wolfless, Eira. You were never meant to have a wolf." My chest tightened. "Then, what am I?" Damien's eyes softened, and his voice dropped to a reverent hush. "You are the last moonborn." The lodge creaked around us, old beams groaning in the wind, but Damien's words were louder than any storm. Moonborn. The word felt ancient, like a bell struck deep inside my bones. My skin buzzed. My mouth was dry. "I don't understand," I whispered. "What does that even mean?" Damien stepped closer. Not threatening, never that. More like gravity. As if being near him helped the world make sense. "You were not born of one bloodline," he said. "You are the child of prophecy. One parent was wolf, yes, but the other." He looked down at the obsidian pendant, still glowing faintly against my chest. Was something else entirely. Not vampire. Not shifter. Older. Rarer. My breath hitched. What was she? He met my eyes. A daughter of the lunar order. A priestess of the crimson moon. I flinched. That's not possible. That's a myth. The crimson moon isn't real. It's real, he said, voice cold now. And it's coming. I took a step back. No. My mother was just a healer. A storyteller. She was hunted, Damien said, voice low, because she carried power the old world tried to erase. She ran to this pack for protection. But instead of shielding her, they betrayed her. My pulse roared in my ears. He wasn't lying. I knew it. Something in my soul stirred like a buried storm. Your father, Damien continued, was her mate. He tried to flee with her. But they were caught. Killed. Not by rogues. I shook my head. No. Stop. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, worn parchment. My hands trembled as I took it. My mother's handwriting. If you're reading this, my Eira, it means the blood has stirred. The curse cannot hold you forever. Find the moonborn. Trust the one with crimson eyes. And run before the veil breaks. I clutched it like a lifeline. You were never cursed, Damien said. They bound you. Sealed your nature. But it's breaking now. That's why you've been dreaming. That's why you feel the heat in your bones. He moved behind me, his hand hovering just above my spine. Do you feel it? He murmured. The fire beneath your skin? I nodded. Good, he whispered. Because it's time. Suddenly, the room trembled. A pulse of raw energy radiated from me, cracking the wooden floor beneath my feet. The pendant shattered. My eyes blurred, vision flooding with silver and red light. My knees buckled. But Damien caught me, and in the darkness behind my eyes, I saw it. A wolf unlike any I had ever known. Not golden, not brown, but shimmering obsidian with glowing crimson eyes, just like his. Towering, regal, deadly. It opened its mouth and spoke in my voice. I remember. I woke on the floor of the lodge, the scent of ash and earth thick in the air. My hands burned. My skin tingled. The entire world felt louder, sharper. I could hear the wind threading through leaves miles away. I could smell the storm rolling in over the mountains. And beneath it all, I felt something pulsing inside me. Not a wolf. Not quite. Something more. Damien knelt beside me, eyes glowing faintly red in the firelight. You saw her. I nodded. The wolf. But she wasn't just that. She spoke. She's not your other half, he said quietly. She is you. Your true form. What the seal kept buried. I stared at my reflection in the cracked lodge mirror across the room. My pupils were ringed in silver now, bright and strange. And in the center of my chest, where the pendant used to rest, a faint mark had appeared, a crescent moon surrounded by twin thorns. Is that a sigil? I asked, touching it. Damien's face darkened. It's a warding brand. Old magic. Meant to suppress your awakening. Someone didn't just hide your bloodline, they tried to erase it. The pain in my chest wasn't fear. It was betrayal. I need answers, I said. All of them. Damien hesitated. You won't like them. I don't care. He exhaled slowly. The Crimson Moon prophecy speaks of one born from the blood of the moon and the beast. A being who would rise when the veil between worlds thins. The moonborn. You. He stood, pacing slowly. The prophecy also says your awakening will bring the end of the old rule. That the alphas will fall. That balance will shift. My stomach twisted. That's why Garen feared me. He didn't just fear you, Damien said grimly. He helped bind you. He swore allegiance to the Elder Council, the same ones who ordered your parents' deaths. My world tilted. The man who raised me, who called me burden behind clenched teeth, who forbade me from training, who locked away my mother's belongings after the funeral. He knew. And he'd lied to me my entire life. I'll kill him, I said, my voice shaking not with fear, but fury. I'll rip the truth from his throat if I have to. Damien didn't smile, but there was pride in his eyes. The old way is crumbling, he said. You're the storm that finishes it. Suddenly, the lodge window shattered inward. A flare of warning pierced my skull. We weren't alone. Shouts rose outside, guards, warriors, weapons drawn. Garen's voice roared. Seize the hybrid. Kill the girl if you must. Damien moved faster than I could track, slamming the door shut with a wave of raw energy. We're out of time. I stood, a heat rolling beneath my skin. This time I didn't fight it. Let them come. They broke through the front door like a tidal wave, 4 warriors, armored in obsidian leathers, teeth bared, eyes blazing gold. I recognized them. Trained by Garan. Born to kill. And they were coming for me. Damien moved like lightning. A blur of black and silver, he disarmed 2 before their blades even left their hilts. One crashed into the wall with a sickening thud. Another howled as Damien's claws tore across his chest. But the 3rd warrior got through. He lunged, sword flashing toward me. My hands rose on instinct. I didn't think. I didn't even scream. The power just answered. A blinding pulse erupted from my chest, light tinged in silver and crimson. The warrior froze mid-strike, eyes wide, body lifted off the ground as though seized by invisible chains. He convulsed once, twice, then collapsed, unconscious but breathing. I stood in the center of the room, breathing hard, the mark on my chest glowing like it was alive. Damien stared at me, stunned for the first time since I'd met him. You channeled it, he said, voice hushed. Raw lunar fire. What was that? The moonborn gift, he murmured. Moonlight made flesh. The last warrior fled. Coward. Good. Because something inside me had snapped, and I didn't want to stop. I followed Damien out into the night. The guards outside, 6 of them, stood between us and the forest edge. Beyond them, the dark woods waited, whispering promises I now understood. Freedom, purpose, blood. They hesitated when they saw me. I wasn't the weak girl they'd ignored for 18 years. I glowed. Hair whipping in the wind, skin alight with silver fire, eyes molten with fury. My bare feet burned the earth beneath me. One guard tried to speak. Eira. I raised a hand. Run. None of them did. So I let the power rise. I didn't shift, not into a wolf, not yet, but I felt it. A storm beneath my skin. My form blurred at the edges, half light, half shadow. When I stepped forward, the earth cracked beneath my feet. And the guards scattered like leaves in a hurricane. Damien was at my side, watching me with something between awe and calculation. You're dangerous, he said. I turned to him. Is that a problem? No, he said with a slow smile. That's exactly what we need. We ran. Through the trees. Over moss and stone and shadow. The forest bent around us like it knew who I was. For the first time in my life, I wasn't running away. I was running toward something. My past. My power. My truth. We ran until the forest swallowed us whole. The moon had crested high above, casting silver veins across the branches. The wind whispered secrets I couldn't quite hear yet. But Damien seemed to know where we were going. The path wasn't marked. There was no trail. But my feet didn't stumble. My pulse thrummed in rhythm with something beneath the earth, like the heartbeat of the woods themselves guiding me. At last, we reached it. A clearing. Silent. Still. In the center stood what remained of an old temple, stone half buried beneath moss and vines, its walls cracked, its arches broken. Time had tried to erase it. But the moonlight remembered. Symbols glowed faintly across the stones, spirals, stars, crescent moons surrounded by thorned crowns, the same as the one now branded on my chest. Damien stopped at the edge, lowering his head. "The Temple of 13 Moons," he said. "The last sanctuary of your mother's bloodline, before they were hunted to extinction." I stepped forward, breath shallow. The moment I crossed the threshold, a gust of wind spiraled upward, gentle but powerful. My mark pulsed. The temple recognized me. A voice, ancient, distant, whispered in my mind. "She returns. The sealed daughter. The storm reborn." I dropped to my knees as the vision struck. Flashes. Fire. Blood. Wolves howling in a burning forest. A woman with silver eyes cradling a baby wrapped in obsidian cloth. A man, my father, battling a dozen armored wolves at once, eyes wide with desperation. And behind it all, a moon, massive and crimson, watching silently as fate unraveled. I gasped, staggering back to my feet. My fingers dug into the stone. "They knew," I whispered. "They knew what I would become. That's why they killed them." Damien stepped beside me. "Not just killed. Erased. Your mother's name was struck from the blood records. Your father's mate bond was severed post-mortem. And your existence was hidden behind a veil spell so complex even I couldn't break it until now." Tears burned behind my eyes, not weakness, but rage made liquid. "They took everything." "No," he said. "They tried. But you survived. And now the old world trembles." I turned to face him. "What now?" Damien raised his hand and placed it over the crescent mark on my chest. "Now," he said, "you meet the moonborn who remain." I blinked. There are more. A sudden shift in the air. From the trees, shapes began to emerge. Figures draped in gray and silver, eyes gleaming with light that wasn't entirely human. Some bore claws, others horns, and a few flickered at the edges, as though reality could barely contain them. 12 in total. They knelt before me in unison. A woman stepped forward, tall, regal, her hair braided with threads of starlight. Her voice rang clear as crystal. "Welcome, moonborn queen. We have waited 300 years for your return." They called me queen, and I didn't know what to do with that. The woman who led the others, the one with the braided starlight in her hair, introduced herself as Serena, High Oracle of the Moonborn. Her presence was like gravity. She radiated calm, wisdom, and something older than age. The others deferred to her. She bowed again, not just out of ceremony, but respect. "You bear the mark," she said. "The binding sigil has been shattered. The blood within you stirs freely now. The crimson moon is awakening." I looked around at the 12 others. Each unique, each powerful, and none of them fully human. Their magic hung in the air like mist, old, potent, terrifying. "You said you've waited for me," I said carefully. "Why?" Serena's silver eyes met mine. "Because without you, we die." She led us into the heart of the temple, where the walls pulsed faintly with light as I passed. Damien followed close behind, silent but watchful. Inside, the chamber was circular, domed, its ceiling etched with constellations that didn't match the ones I knew. In the center stood a pedestal carved from obsidian moonstone. Serena placed her hand upon it, and the room filled with soft music, like bells underwater. "This was your mother's," she said. "Her sanctuary. Her sanctuary for you." I swallowed hard. She knew this would happen. She saw it, Serena confirmed. The war. The betrayal. The burning of the moonborn. And the child who would rise from their ashes. I touched the edge of the pedestal. My skin tingled. She saw me. Serena nodded. And she did more than see you. She created the future with her death. She planted the spell in your soul and sealed it with her blood so they could never find you until the right moment. Damien stepped forward. The moment is now. The veil is weakening. The realms are thinning. Serena's face darkened. Yes, the elders are preparing to finish what they started. Garan was only the beginning. They've begun calling on the Hollow Pact. Damien tensed. That magic was outlawed. They do not care, she replied. If they unlock the Hollow Path, the Crimson Moon will fall, and with it, all of us. I didn't know what the Hollow Pact was, but the fear in their voices told me enough. So what do I do? I asked. Serena smiled gently, placing her hands on my shoulders. You learn. You remember. You rise. And so I trained. They showed me how to wield lunar fire, how to call it from within, shape it, sharpen it. I learned to see through the mist of time, to touch the strings of fate without snapping them. Damien trained me in combat, his blade like a whisper, his hands merciless but steady. He never went easy on me. He didn't need to, because I was learning faster than any of them expected. Every day I grew stronger. Every night I dreamed of blood. And on the 7th day, under the rising half-moon, I shifted for the first time. Not into a wolf. Not into a monster. Into something else. My body stretched and shimmered, my bones cracking into a form made of silver smoke and shadows. I stood on 4 paws, but I was no mere beast. I was sleek and colossal, with fur that rippled like storm clouds and eyes burning with crimson flame. The others fell silent. Serena whispered, awestruck. The Crimson Alpha walks again. I thought awakening my power would bring clarity. Instead, it brought shadows. Whispers in the dark. Eyes watching from trees that should have been empty. Dreams that twisted into prophecy. Serena told me it was natural. The veil is breaking, and with it, the barriers between fate and fear. I didn't argue, but something in my bones felt off, like the rhythm of the world was skipping beats. And Damien. He'd grown quiet. He watched me during training with a gaze too sharp, too unreadable. He was still my protector, my guide, but something had shifted behind his crimson eyes. A weight. A hesitation. I wanted to ask. I didn't. I couldn't bear the answer. Then, one night, during a run through the southern glade, I caught the scent. Blood. Not animal. Not beast. Moonborn. I followed it to a clearing slick with it. 3 bodies. 2 elders. One barely older than a child. Their sigils had been burned from their skin. Ritualistically. Deliberately. I dropped to my knees, trembling. My magic surged like bile. My mind screamed. Someone had found us. Someone had betrayed us. Serena arrived minutes later, her face pale as the moon. The wards were broken from within, she said, voice shaking. This was no accident. No beast. Then who? I asked, barely able to form the words. She hesitated. And for the first time since I'd met her, she looked afraid. Damien appeared next. He didn't ask what happened. His eyes just flicked to the bodies. And then to me. I stood. My voice cracked. Tell me you didn't do this. He didn't answer. Not immediately. Then, no. But it wasn't the word that chilled me. It was the silence wrapped around it. The hesitation that was too practiced. Serena stepped between us. Enough. This isn't the time for accusation. But I couldn't stop the ache in my chest. The doubt. The unbearable certainty that something was wrong. Later that night, I crept into the inner sanctum, Serena's chamber, where the oldest texts were kept. I needed truth. I needed it now. And what I found? Gods. There were letters. Scrolls sealed with the Elder Council's mark. Instructions for surveillance. Payment records. Names. One name over and over. Lucian Damien Velkin. The same name carved on the tomb of the Crimson Betrayer, the hybrid who sold out the original moonborn to the Elders 3 centuries ago. My hands trembled. I staggered back, sick with realization. Damien hadn't just trained me. He'd been watching me, guiding me into becoming exactly what they needed. And now that I was a weapon waiting for command. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The chamber felt smaller than ever, walls too close, air too thin. The scrolls burned in my satchel like coals. Every time I blinked, I saw his name. His betrayal. The lies he'd spoken wrapped in smoke and charm. Lucian Damien Velkin. I waited until the others fell into sleep trance. Then I left. The moon was half dim, veiled by cloud. My footsteps echoed louder than they should have. The temple corridors whispered. He was waiting for me in the training circle. Of course he was. Damien always knew when I was coming. His back was to me, cloak fluttering slightly in the night wind, his sword driven blade first into the ground. As if he knew what this would become. You found it, he said without turning. You let me, I spat. He sighed. No. I just knew it was time. I stepped closer, fists clenched. You were using me. I was protecting you. Don't, I hissed. Don't twist it. He turned slowly. No tricks. No smile. His crimson eyes were tired. Human. You want to hear the truth, he said. Fine. Yes, I was sent here. Yes, I've worked with the elders before. I was born to be their blade. My pulse roared. But you know what they never expected, he continued. That I'd care. That I'd see her in you. Your mother. My heart cracked. You were supposed to be dangerous, he said. They told me you were a threat to balance. That you'd destroy everything. But I saw the truth before anyone else. He stepped closer. I saw you. I didn't know whether to scream or sob. You killed them, I whispered. 3 of my people. No, he said quickly. I swear it. I knew about the breach, yes, but I didn't cause it. Someone else acted. Too soon. My voice shook. So you were going to let them kill me when the time was right instead? No, a pause. I was going to die before I let that happen. He knelt before me, slow and deliberate. I broke my oath the moment I protected you. That's why the council is hunting me now too. I wanted to believe him. But belief had cost me everything once already. You lied, I said. I did. You broke me. I know. Then give me one reason not to end this now. He looked up at me, his face bare, his hands open. Because if you kill me, he said quietly, you'll never know who really betrayed the temple. I stared at him. And suddenly, I felt it. A flicker. Not in him. Behind me. Too late. A blade sliced through the air, aimed for my back. But Damien moved faster than I'd ever seen him. Inhumanly fast. He caught the assassin mid-lunge, driving his own blade through their throat in one fluid motion. They collapsed, lifeless. When I turned them over, I froze. It was one of the moonborn. A man who had trained with me, shared meals with me, laughed with me. Dead. And branded with a sigil I recognized instantly. The Elder Council's seal. Damien looked at me, breathing hard. They've already infiltrated your circle. This isn't just about you, Eira. It's about all of them. My voice cracked. Why me? His eyes held no hesitation now. Because you're the only one strong enough to burn their world down. The next morning, I stood at the edge of the temple's high balcony, overlooking the mist-veiled forest. Below me, 12 moonborn waited silent, expectant. They had seen the blood. They had seen the body. They had heard the assassin's name. Thalen, one of their own, turned traitor, dead by Damien's hand. And I was the reason he'd been sent in the first place. I should have felt ashamed. But I didn't. I felt fire. Serena stepped forward beside me, her face a mask of sorrow. "We are broken," she said. "The council has found us. The sanctuary is no longer safe. They know you've awakened." "Then we make them regret it," I said coldly. There was no more hiding. No more waiting. No more running from the power in my blood. Serena turned to me, her voice careful. "There are moonborn who will not follow you. Some fear what you represent. Others believe you are the end of our line, not its salvation." "They're right," I said. She blinked. "What?" "I am the end," I said, stepping forward to the balcony's edge. "I am the last of the old blood. The final piece of what they tried to destroy. But from ashes, we don't rebuild, we evolve." They stared at me. No crown adorned my head. No robe on my shoulders. Just scars, power, and a soul split between rage and mercy. But they listened. And I spoke. "I am not your queen because of a birthright. I am not here because a scroll predicted it. I stand before you because I survived what they feared, and I won't let it happen again." The winds howled through the valley as if in answer. "If they want a weapon," I said, "I'll become one. If they want a curse, I'll give them a storm." Damien stepped to my side, silent, crimson eyes fixed on me with something like awe. "I'm not here to restore the old ways," I said to the moonborn. "I'm here to end them." I lifted my hand. Silver fire erupted from my palm, spiraling skyward. It exploded above us, forming the crescent sigil in the clouds. Visible across miles of sky. A declaration. A warning. A promise. "The next full moon rises in 6 days," I said. "On the night of the crimson moon, the veil will fall. The elders will open the hollow path, and I will be waiting for them." Serena knelt. Then one by one, the others followed. 12 moonborn. Then 20. Then 50. Kneeling before a girl who had once been wolfless. Now born of fire. Crowned by fury. We moved before dawn. 50 moonborn warriors, cloaked in shadow and silver light, passed through the forest like a ghost army. Every step was guided by purpose. Every heartbeat was aligned with mine. We had no illusions. Some of us would not return, but none hesitated. The Elder Council's stronghold lay within the hollow veil, a cursed chasm where even birds feared to fly. Legends said the earth had split there after the last Moonborn massacre. Others whispered it was the first wound carved into the world by the Hollow Pact. Both were true. We reached the valley's edge by nightfall. The sky above turned crimson, the moon swelling behind thin clouds like a watchful eye. Damien stood beside me, his blade sheathed across his back. "This is where it ends," he said. "No," I replied. "This is where it begins." He didn't argue. The closer we came to the chasm, the more wrong the air felt. Magic clung to the rocks, thick as rot. We descended the cliffs in silence, every footstep echoing louder than the last. At the bottom, we found it. A gate. Not built, but grown. Black stone twisted into arches, pulsing with dark runes. The sigil of the elders burned in red at its center, a bleeding crescent devoured by thorns. This was no fortress. It was a door. And it was open. Inside, I felt it, power unlike anything I'd touched. Not wild like lunar fire. Not cold like vampire magic. Something deeper, older, hungrier. Serena joined me, eyes wide. They've already started the ritual. Then we stop it. Damien reached for my arm. There's something you need to know before we go further. His face was unreadable. His voice hoarse. I read the scrolls again. The prophecy. There's a line we missed. Or ignored. I turned to him. What line? He looked at me then, like it would break him. When the crimson alpha rises, the veil shall burn, but the blood that seals it must burn too. My mouth went dry. What are you saying? Damien's eyes didn't waver. They need your power to open the hollow path. But to close it, permanently, it must be sealed with the blood of its origin. The blood of the moonborn, I whispered. No, he said. The blood of the one born of both moon and void. You, Eira. My stomach twisted. The ground seemed to tilt beneath me. They don't want to kill you, Damien said. They want to use you to tear the world open. But if you stop them, if you seal it. I die, I said. Silence. He didn't confirm it. He didn't have to. I looked beyond the gate, where shadows stirred and the ritual pulsed in the dark. I had come here to lead a war. Now I understood. I was the war. We stepped through the gate. And the world changed. The hollow veil was no longer a valley, it was a wound, cut deep through reality itself. The sky blood red. The trees were twisted things, reaching with clawed limbs toward a moon that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air crackled, humming with dark ritual. At the center of the shattered plain stood a black stone altar, and around it, 13 elders chanted in unison, their robes billowing though there was no wind. The blood of sacrifices already soaked the earth, moonborn, taken before they could fight back. I could feel it, power swirling around them like a vortex. They were opening the hollow path. Wait for my mark, I said to the others. They nodded, my warriors, my kin, my last breath if needed. Damien stepped forward. You're sure? I looked at him. And I wasn't scared anymore. I was born for this. Then I moved. I burst from the shadows in a blaze of silver flame, launching into the air. The elders didn't expect an attack so soon. My first strike split the sky, a spear of lunar fire crashing into their circle, sending 3 flying like broken dolls. Now! I roared. The moonborn surged forward behind me, claws, blades, light. Battle exploded across the plain, screams rising like a twisted song. Elders cast their dark sigils, rending the air with void fire. But we met them with fury and faith in teeth. I saw Serena summon a cyclone of glowing mist, tearing 2 elders apart with ancient chants. I saw Damien cut down an enemy twice his size with a single, perfect arc of steel. He fought like a ghost, silent, unstoppable. But the ritual didn't stop. The hollow gate pulsed, widening. And then, Garan stepped from the void. Clad in obsidian armor, his eyes pitch black. No gold. No wolf. Just rot. I knew it would be you, he growled. I should have killed you in your cradle. You tried, I snarled, power boiling through my veins. He lunged. We collided in a crash of fire and fury. I met him blow for blow, faster, stronger than I'd ever been. He struck with brute force, but I moved with something older, instinct, magic, rage. I caught his blade mid-swing and shattered it. I am not your pawn, I hissed. I drove my hand into his chest, searing through flesh and bone, and ripped the stolen magic from him. He screamed, crumbling to dust in my arms. Behind me, the altar screamed. The final phase of the ritual had begun. The hollow gate split open like a mouth, and something began to crawl through. Not a creature. A realm. Darkness with teeth. Damien ran to me. You have to do it now. My mark burned like fire across my skin. The words echoed again. The veil shall burn, but the blood that seals it must burn too. I raised my hands and prepared to sacrifice everything. The hollow roared. It wasn't sound, it was absence. The echo of every soul lost to the Elder's hunger. The realm beyond the gate pulsed with darkness, swallowing light, tearing at the edge of the world like claws at skin. And I stood before it, alone. The battle raged behind me, but all I heard was the thrum of the blood in my veins and the ancient call in my bones. The prophecy's final line carved itself across my mind. The veil shall burn, but the blood that seals it must burn too. They thought it meant death. They thought I had to die to save the world. But they were wrong, because I remembered something they never knew. The moonborn were never meant to burn alone. The hollow needed my blood. Yes, but it didn't require my death. It required my will. I stepped onto the altar, lifted my glowing hands, and offered it. A beam of silver-crimson light burst from my chest, striking the widening gate. The darkness screamed, recoiling, but still, it fought. And then, I called her. The wolf. Me. My true form surged through me like wildfire. My body cracked and shifted, for rippling with starlight, claws like blades of moonstone. I howled, and the world shook. The moonborn stopped mid-battle and turned. One by one, they dropped to their knees, not in despair, but reverence. I wasn't dying. I was ascending. The hollow roared one final time. And I answered. With fire, with light, with the fury of every life they tried to erase. The gate collapsed inward. The realm shrieked and shattered. Magic exploded across the sky, a final breath of defiance. And when the smoke cleared, the hollow was gone. And I still stood. Not dead. Not broken. But crowned in silver and blood. Damien appeared beside me, bleeding but smiling. You did it. I looked around. At the survivors. At the burned altar. At the empty sky. No, I said softly. We did. Serena approached last, tears in her eyes. What are you now, child? I met her gaze, and my voice did not shake. I am not a queen. I am not a curse. I am not their prophecy. I looked up at the moon, now whole, glowing soft and white for the first time in centuries. I am what they feared most. A future they couldn't control. Months passed. The Elder Council fell. The moonborn rose again, not hidden, not hunted, but free. A new world bloomed from the ash of the old. The pacts that once exiled me sent emissaries. They asked for peace. I gave them warning. And when the crimson moon returned the following year, it didn't rise alone. It rose with me. Crowned not by blood, but by choice. A girl who once had no howl. Now the one they all heard.